Hey guys, today in the workshop we have a Peugeot 2008 that's in for a timing belt, and this is the 1.2 wet belt. So if you take off the oil cap, you'll be able to see the top of the belt. Normally you can check this for any cracks or swelling. You might be able to put a tool in here on some versions, but on this has that webbing in place, so can't really do that. But normally when you check this, you'll be able to see the smooth top surface of the timing belt, and that's normally what cracks to give you the indication of bits are flaking away. Once upon a time, the top of this belt was smooth, but it's not anymore. So let's get it changed. Which means that all of this has to come off. So that's all off. Not sure how well it's picking it up on camera. But yeah, nice and crusty. Also, a little tip for when you're doing this yourself. A lot of videos online to say that you have to drop the engine in order to get the intake manifold off this way. I suppose you can do that, but if you're going to be doing the water pump anyway, I know you don't have to because it's not run by the timing belt, but if you are going to do the water pump, then it doesn't really matter if you take off this water pipe, because this water pipe is really what's stopping you from taking the intake manifold when it's loose out and around this way, that and the battery. And when you take the intake manifold off, just remember on the back there are 5 bolts, not just 4, because that one there is for a bracket that's fitted on the back, and if you don't undo that one, it's going to hinder you getting this out. And there's a wiring loom clip here that also needs to be disconnected, because that's the wire that goes to the intake solenoid for the VVT. So when you're timing it up, you want to turn the crank pulley and try and insert this locking tool that goes into a slot that's on the flywheel of the gearbox. So you want to be pushing this while you're turning that ever so slowly and wait until it pops in. You want to make sure it's completely flush and all the way in. So once you've locked up the crank, you want to insert the locking tool onto the cams. So these lobes here, they should be flat edge at the top. They do have a curved edge underneath them. So if you lock up the crank, come up here and there's a curved edge on top, then that's wrong. You need to take out the locking tool, rotate it again until it locks again, and then come back up, and then you should be right. So with the locking tool, you want to insert it over those lobes. Should fall nicely into place. And you can see there where you bolt it down, there and there. Now it's worth saying, don't go mental when you're tightening these down, you just don't want it to move. So you're going to take off the auxiliary belt, and yeah, this has seen better days too. So now that the crank pulley is off, you can see the harmonic balancer, which is basically that rubber ring inside the crank pulley. Sometimes they can come off completely, so this outer ring just shears away from it. And it's not looking too clever, so I'm going to suggest that we get that replaced. And now we can see the tensioner on the idler. And because we have everything locked up, we can just loosen this off. Oh, that was very tight. And the idler's out. Once you've loosened off this 18mm crank pulley bolt, you want to take this out, leave that there for a second. I'm going to put a screwdriver through like that, using one of the bolts that came out earlier. Just put that in so you have some control over it. This is only because sometimes the pulleys behind here can be quite tight, and then the chain that drives the oil pump can fall into the sump. It doesn't really matter because we're going to be taking off the sump anyway, but just to make my life easier. So now that this belt is loose, we can manipulate it around the pulleys, and we are out. Yeah, not the best. This did not have long left. See all those bits in the oil? So all this is bits of the belt that's come off. I can see more of the remnants in here. The actual strainer itself doesn't look too bad. There's a few bits on it, but we're going to take it off there and make sure it's got a good clean.